President Trump just called out the Colombia president like we've never seen before. What's going on, guys? It's Ricky with Technical Solutions here with actually a few updates on what I think that you should know before the market opens this week. I also wanted to ask you if you want me to host today's Sunday Stock Talk, which is going to be right around 6:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time here in Arizona. Just give this video a thumbs up. If 500 people give a thumbs up, then again, I'll be more than happy to go live. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. So the first thing that I quickly want to share with you is that President Trump is calling out President Gustavo Petro of Colombia. He is an illegal drug leader, strongly encouraging the massive production of drugs. Now, again, some people are like, kudos to Trump. I'm not against this in the sense of if this president of Colombia, which, am I mistaken or Colombia is with an O, not a U, but that's besides the point. Ignore that about Trump. You guys know that, if I disagree with something when it comes down to Trump, I have no problem calling it out. This I'm not against. I think that the whole reason behind this is that this Colombian president is known for being a leader with a strong demographic of a lot of illegal drugs around his government, right? Encouraging the massive production of drugs in big and small fields all over Colombia. It has become the biggest business in Colombia by far, and Petro does nothing to stop it. To me, that's just weak leadership. I really don't care to hear an excuse of, his family or what. At that point, you are just a government that is ran by, I don't know if it's cartels in Colombia, but by drug lords, right? By far, and Petro does nothing to stop it, despite large-scale payments and subsidies from the U.S. That are nothing more than a long-term ripoff to the United States. As of today, these payments or any other form of payment or subsidies will no longer be made to Colombia. You guys let me know down in the comment section what you think. I'm not against this. I think that if we are paying a country that is known to be corrupt, and if it's as simple as this, which again, it never really is, feel free to share your thoughts down in the comment section. I'm big on it, right? Like if they are not doing their part to look out for the best interests of their people and not just drugs, I'm all for why are we sending tax-paying dollars over to Colombia to fund and fuel a government that is pretty much just ran by drugs. So you guys let me know down in the comment section what you think. It's going to be interesting how markets react to that. The other update that I think is really important for you guys to understand is, remember, as of the last week to week and a half, the market has been heavily influenced by tariffs, right? The trade war was back supposedly when it came down to China, but now there's a pause once again. Now it looks like the U.S. is rolling back tariffs on products that cannot be grown, mined, or naturally produced in the United States. I saw this subtweet to that original tweet, and it says U.S. is rolling back on tariffs on products that we literally can't produce domestically. Turns out taxing stuff that you don't have is bad economics. Who knew? Obviously being sarcastic. This is basically admitting that the tariff strategy needed a reality check, smart pivot, or just damage control. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter, right? We've said it many times. When you implement something, and obviously it's trimming fat. Sometimes when you trim fat, you do trim muscle. I'm not fully against this. I at least, as long as he doesn't point the blame at anyone else, it's like, hey, yeah, we implemented tariffs on things that we couldn't grow here. It's our fault in the sense of we can't grow some of these things domestically, which obviously was a concern that was presented in the very beginning. He tested it out. It obviously is not working. So then, you have to pivot. I'm not against that. No one's perfect. I'm not here to pretend or hold Trump to that standard. I just hope that when they admit that, yeah, it's just their fault. And that's all, right? Move on from it. It's nothing that deep. Big tech earnings this week. The biggest companies, in my opinion, that are reporting earnings this week is Tesla after the market closes on Wednesday. We have IBM after the market closes on Wednesday. We have Netflix after the market closes on Tuesday. And then there was one more, Intel. Intel after the market closes on Thursday. So there's a handful of other companies like Coca-Cola, GE Aerospace. If you see any company here that you're personally invested in or thinking about investing, make sure you highlight it, right? Definitely something that you want to keep a very close eye on. And I wanted to ask you again, if you want me to go live for like Netflix or Tesla's earnings, all you literally need to do is subscribe, because I'm going to randomly be going live for these earning reports. And all I ask you to do is drop a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your post notifications so YouTube notifies you when it is that I go live. The other thing that I want to talk about when it comes down to the schedule is supposedly this week, right? According to the economic calendar, you guys could see that we have a handful of economic reports that are set to be released this week, right? Jobless claims, existing home sales. We even have, according to the schedule, CPI report, all of this, right? Government is still shut down. That's also another concern this week, as we are on track for the longest government shutdown in history. I talked about it in yesterday's video, where there's obviously a clear divide between the people who are voting to continue the shutdown and for those that are choosing to reopen it. I think it's like a 55%. They need 60%, and a majority of Republicans have voted to open it, but a majority of Democrats are holding it back from reopening. There was a comment that was shared about, the reason that they are choosing to not reopen the government is because they want to be able to vote on this insurance program, right? That Affordable Care Act or whatever it might be. That is something that supposedly wasn't supposed to get voted on until December. So that's not something that currently is a pressing issue, because it doesn't actually expire until the end of this year. Nonetheless, Democrats have the reason. Republicans, as of right now, are being held hostage, supposedly, right? According to that reason. So I just want you to be aware of kind of like the conflict that's going in between. And I want to talk about both sides. Democrats are saying, no, we need to vote on this now. But Republicans are like, no, that's a pressing issue for December, not something that we have to vote on now. Stop holding us hostage. Let's reopen up the government. Expand on that. Feel free to look it up, and you can mold your own decision. I'm not here to tell you what you should or should not agree with. I'm just here to keep you up to date on, yes, government is still shut down. Yes, because of that government shutdown, we still don't have a series of economic reports that are set to be released, which is just going to make it more challenging for the Federal Reserve to make a more informed and calculated decision if they're going to be cutting, pausing, or raising interest rates. So we'll see if anything actually ends up getting reported. I also found this to be pretty interesting. Nvidia CEO Jensen says that we're 100% out of China, from 95% market share to now 0%. Whatever policy did that made America lose one of the world's biggest markets. So obviously not the best news for Nvidia, but just something that I think is important and useful to understand, how this trade war has impacted the potential. I mean, Nvidia is already still the most valuable company that's publicly traded, but how it still has more potential if it were to be allowed to expand into that market share, right? And I wanted to keep you guys up to date. We can film a video, an updated video on this if you guys want me to. This is the top, 15 performing stocks of 2025. Oklo being at the top of the list with a 669% ROI year to date. The part that's really funny is that Oklo's projected revenue is zero all the way up until 2027. No projected revenue. It's negative in every single way, and it has a $24 billion market cap. If you guys pay attention here, you guys can see Oklo. Click on this on the day chart, and this is what it looks like. Again, just a few months ago, this thing was trading at $5 per share. Now it has hit highs of 193. If that is not a red flag that we are in a bubble to some degree, I don't know what is, right? Nothing like this ever sustains itself. There's nothing wrong with being invested or trading a stock like this with cash and money that you can actually tolerate. But please do not use leverage, because if this thing turns against you, it can get very nasty very quick. As many of you guys saw, nearly a week and a half ago on the previous Friday, when a bunch of over leveraged crypto bros got wiped out. 80% of people just absolutely destroyed and lost everything. And that is the power of leverage. So again, if you see potential or value in those companies with no revenue and negative, negative EPS, negative revenue based off how much the company spends, that's on you, right? I'm not, you're an adult, you can do whatever it is that you want. Just please be mindful of the leverage that you put behind those trades or investments, because again, it can get very nasty very quick. We'll talk a little bit more about this in detail during tomorrow's live trading session. So again, ready to kick off the trading week and see how the futures open once they do later today. So we can talk a little bit more about that during our Sunday stock talk today, if we end up actually going live. So again, just get this video to over 500 likes. Don't forget to subscribe. And whenever you're ready, second link in the description down below if you ever want to watch me trade live. Like always, let's make sure that we end the year on a green note. Take care, team.